today we will have 4 talks. They all involve Perlito at some point. And well, the reason we are doing this is I was discussing with Sawyer, and we found there basically people don't know what's happening with Perlito. It's a new Perl implementation, and we have lots of things happening. We have a group of maybe 10 people that regularly contribute, and since we well, we have some people that would be available today. It was actually hard. We tried 3 times until we got everybody together. And so I'm going to talk about the compiler itself. Then Federico will show a bit of things we can do with Perl to JavaScript that he's working on. Yati will show a bit of things he's doing with Perl to compiling Perl to Android. And Bosco will show us things he's doing with Hadoop, HBase, Hive. So you get a nice overview of the technology itself and how we are trying to apply it in several different ways. This will be about, I think, an hour and a half, and we have lots of time to questions as well. Also, in this talk I didn't get too deep into technical stuff, but if you are interested, well, we have time to talk about how it works and what it doesn't do and this kind of stuff.
Should we start now?
Yep. Should turn this off, right?
Yes. Put. Okay.
Okay, so this is the Perl to Java compiler. This is a sub-project of Perlito. Too much. So why are we doing this? First thing is we're just motivated by having something interesting to work at hackathons, and we have a nice community, and it's nice to work together, build something. There's a technical challenge. There are at least 4 or 5 different Perl to Java compilers that don't quite work. Some people tried and gave up. Some people didn't give up, but they ended up implementing a different language because there are so many workarounds needed. So we also have, we're exploring what we can do with types that are provided by Java, what kind of performance we get out of this. Yeah, we can access a lot of Java libraries. We also miss some of the Perl specific stuff, so we are exploring. We have a few business reasons as well. We really want to apply Java in our Hadoop jobs, and we also, as a company that I work on, we have Android products, and yeah, we are interested to use Perl on these platforms. The whole history of Perlito 5 comes from initially Perl. I started working on Pugs around 2005. At that time, Pugs is a first implementation of Perl 6. It was written in Haskell, and at some point we ran out of Haskell hackers, so we needed a way to have more people hacking in Perl 6. So Audrey was the initiator of Pugs. Putter was a guy who started implementing a backend for Pugs in Perl 5. So I joined them, and after some time we created v6.pm, which was Perl 6 written in Perl 6 but ran on a Perl 5 backend. So it was rather incomplete Perl 6, but it was good enough to compile itself and run in Perl 5. A few years later I met Jesse in a conference, and we discussed about how Perl could work on JavaScript or other places, and I ended up rewriting the code we already have in Perl 6 as a Perl 5 compiler. So this was kind of a strange compiler that had half the code in Perl 6, half the code in Perl 5. With the time and with help of other people, we rewrote it to be only Perl 5. So now Perlito is Perl 5 written in Perl 5, and it has lots of backends. It can compile, it's a cross compiler. It can compile Perl to Java, but also JavaScript and other things. The current project, Perlito 5 Java, started a year ago. Basically after I met Bosco and we discussed how it could be useful to have a way to run Perl in Hadoop land, and later other people joined. Yati has worked a lot in the Android backend, and he created the implementation of state variables. Bruno helped with objects. Bas is working a lot in the runtime. Yeah, people are contributing, writing examples, writing tests. And I would like to thank Booking.com because they already hosted, I think, 10 hackathons, which is a lot. The project is in GitHub. It's called Perlito. Perlito includes then the v6, which is the Perl 6 compiler, but it's quite an old version. It's not being updated too much. And Perl 5, which is published to CPAN as Perlito 5. So if you can either install from CPAN, then you get just the command line compiler, or the whole thing from GitHub. So what the compiler does, it generates plain Java code with no dependencies. This means you don't really need to install anything besides Java SE and have a Perl. It's really Java code, it's not Java bytecode. It uses your Java C compiler. We have a few extension things that allow you to integrate with Java libraries, but everything we use is a valid Perl syntax. So you can check the syntax using Perl and then run Perlito. So most of the programs you write for Perlito will just run in Perl, unless you use something very specific that only Java can provide. So this is one example. Here I'm using MIME-base64. I got this because this is a library from CPAN that uses XS, and it's written in C. It's just a Perl wrapper over a C library. So you use MIME-base64 and call encode with a string. You get your result. In Perlito, it becomes you call the Perlito compiler with source5lib as include directory with compile to Java, and the same code. What's happening here is we have a reimplementation of MindBase64, which uses Java. I'll show a bit more details later. And this works as a shadow module. When Perito finds this module in the shadow directory, it will use the Java implementation instead of XS. So you get the same result. Here the code is being piped to main.java, we compile main.java, and then you get the same behavior. So we have a number of these shadow modules. For example, strict is specific to the compiler, so we have Perito X strict. And we have platform specific, which are the XS replacements. In this case, MindBase64 is installed as Perito X Java MindBase64. So how do we replace XS? It's an interesting story because we don't really write Java. We create Perl packages with Java import headers. And we are abusing a bit of Perl syntax when we have this package namespace block. This was introduced in Perl 5.14. You use this syntax here. And same thing as a block with a package full in the beginning. And we also use my declarations with types. This was introduced very early in Perl 5.8. It was meant to allow types in Perl. It was kind of forgotten feature. It was still, documentation says semantics still evolving. But it allows us to actually declare a variable as belonging to a class. And we'll use this. So it looks like this. We have, in this case, we start with use feature, use strict, and then we have a package calendar. Instead of adding code here, we just add an annotation, import this Java class. This doesn't mean anything to Perl because it's just a list. But Perito knows if you are compiling Java and you see this annotation, then add the code to really import this thing, and add the wrappers to create a Perl class that contains all methods. So we're importing calendar and time zone. Later we can create a variable that is a calendar, and it calls getInstance, which we get straight from Java. So here we, from the calendar, we get hour of date, stored in a plain Perl variable, and then we can print. So two things. Types are completely optional. You can write plain Perl, but there's a lot of Java-specific things that you can use. Now, there are platform-specific problems. Java doesn't have what we call in Perl timely destruction. Perl has reference counting, Java has garbage collection. This means in Perl you can count that a variable will go out of scope. It will call destroy if it's an object. And files that get out of scope will auto-close. This doesn't happen in Java because Java will just put this variable on hold until they are garbage collected, and this can happen even never if you have enough memory. There is no excess because this is not C, this is Java, and excess is specifically C. And we are using Java regex, which is a different regex engine. It mostly behaves like Perl, but not quite. We are discussing different implementations of regex and also workarounds for access, but for now just count that there are problems if you expect it to work perfectly like Perl implementation in C. Begin blocks are work in progress. They are really progressing. In the last hackathon, we got a lot of begin functionality working, but there's still work to do. Tie and overload, we have prototypes on how this could work, but also not integrated. Eval string, we're still discussing either using an interpreter or generating Java code. There are both sides. Interpreter is fast to start, but they execute slower, and compiler would make every eval will need to be compiled, and this takes time. So this is still in discussion. Encoding also requires some work because Java strings are basically Unicode, but if you want plain binary strings, you have to use something different. You have to use arrays of bytes. So also possible, but not implemented. The way the program works once it's compiled is you have both Perl and Java objects. Every typed variable is a Java object, and all untyped variables are Perl. Typed variables, once you declare a variable as typed, it will be tracked by the compiler, and all methods will be native. This makes these method calls pretty fast. And you can import Java classes, and this integrates with the APIs we are interested with, for example, HBase, Android, and other things. In terms of performance, we found that numbers in general are super fast. Even if you don't use types in your programs, just by compiling to Java, you get about 3 to 5 times faster. If you do use types, like you declare your numbers integer or double, native, you get up to 35 times faster loops. On the other hand, strings in Java are slower than Perl. Regexes in Java need to be compiled. Usually, depending on the regex, they need to be compiled at runtime, and they can be pretty slow. On the other hand, we also found that for programs that run for a long time, the performance of Perl and Java tend to come closer. So Perl starts faster, but Java gets better with time. As you use more memory, Java gets more efficient, apparently. Well, at least if you use more time. So that's it for the Java compiler. I'd like to hear if you have questions or suggestions. Yes?
Are you targeting particular versions of Java? Like as Java moved from 7 to 8, did you guys?
Yes, we started with Java 6, but then we found for the I/O for files, it's easier to use Java 7 because Java 7 implements a lot more like Unicode on streams, this kind of stuff. So we are using Java 7. But by doing this, we found we broke Android because Android doesn't have these libraries. So the plan now, like now in next days, we are going to add a command line switch, so we can say probably add a switch to say we are going to compile to Android or we are going to compile to Java 6, something like this, so that you can specify what level of Java you want. For now, it's Java 7, as it is.
Could you explain a little bit about the difference between typed and untyped variable? If it compiles to Java,
Yeah.
I mean, in the Java level, it has to have type.
Yeah. We have a base Perl object, which is called a Perl object, class, and everything that is not typed is typed as a Perl object. But Perl object has subclasses, so you have Perl integer, Perl float, Perl string, so Perl boolean. So some things Perl closure. So these things can be typed more specifically, so the dispatch is a bit faster. But for example, if you get something from back from a subroutine, it's a Perl object because we never know what we're going to get. For typed variables, there is also something we have a few conditions for you to use a typed variable. You cannot pass a typed variable to a subroutine directly, because subroutines expect Perl objects. So you need to declare a normal my variable without type, store the typed thing inside, and call the subroutine with this value. When you store typed variables in Perl variables, they become Perl objects. So if you do ref function, you get integer or whatever class it is. So Perl thinks this thing is a Perl object, and yeah, it just behaves like a Perl object for you as a Perl program. If you want to retrieve the Java object from the Perl variable, then you can use auto-generated to class method, and you can then store back into a typed variable or call native methods on it. So there are a few rules that we created that just to make things possible.
Okay. Hi. I'm wondering, how did you deal with method signatures? Like, do you attempt to understand how the function tries to use at underscore? Do you try and do you keep on function variating with sort of things?
Yes, we well, the compiler does know about the signatures, and it basically tries to behave like Perl. So we create this syntax tree, and each subroutine may contain a prototype. So when we go emit the calling code, we retrieve the subroutine name if we have it, and look at the prototype, and then we have several different conditions for each kind of prototype. These prototypes are Perl prototypes, and they are completely unrelated to the type system for the typed Java variables. That's why for now we forbid mixing prototypes and Java types. That basically not really possible yet, at least not with the current official Perl syntax. So we are just not doing this, but it would be perfectly possible.
Okay, so if a function just doesn't have a prototype, then it will end up as variating.
Yes, then it's just at underline. It's actually at underline, and yeah, it just works like Perl.